All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and personal works of philosophy ever written. But here's the wild part. It was never meant for us to read. It wasn't written for an audience at all. It was the private journal of a man just trying to get through the day. You know that feeling, right? When you're being pulled in a million different directions, you're facing one crisis after another, and you're just struggling to keep your head above water? Yeah, we've all been there. What if I told you that the single most powerful man in the entire known world felt that exact same way? We're talking about the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and his private journal, which we now call the Meditations, is basically his personal playbook for dealing with that insane, overwhelming pressure. To really get why this book is so incredible, you first have to understand the world Marcus Aurelius was living in. This guy wasn't some philosopher sitting in a quiet, comfy study. No, he was an emperor on the front lines of a massive and often crumbling empire. I mean, just look at the timeline of his rule. It is a nonstop storm of crises. The moment he takes the throne in 1601 AD, boom, war breaks out in the East. A few years later, a horrifying plague sweeps through the empire, killing millions. For the rest of his life, he's stuck in these brutal wars on the Danube frontier. And to top it all off, he even has to deal with a shocking betrayal from his most trusted general. For almost 20 years, his entire reality was just war, plague, and constant instability. So this creates this incredible conflict inside of him. On one side, you have the emperor, a man of duty, war, power, and politics. But on the other, you have the philosopher, a man who just craved simplicity, serenity, reason, and virtue. The Meditations is born right in the middle of that tension. It's literally him trying to figure out how to be a good man while also being the emperor of Rome. So where did he write all of this? Not in a palace. He wrote most of it in a cold, damp military tent during the long nights on the front lines of the war. And he wasn't writing a book for you and me. He was writing something much, much more personal. The original Greek title was ta is heauton, and that translates to things for himself, or even more simply, to myself. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? These were personal notes, reminders, and bits of encouragement that an emperor was writing to himself just to get through the day without losing his mind or his principles. And that's exactly what makes this text so unique. As one scholar put it, no other great figure has left us such a sincere and profound personal testimony. We are literally reading the private thoughts of a man wrestling with incredible power, his own mortality, and the huge question of what it means to live a good life. It's raw. So what was the philosophy that helped him survive all this chaos? It was Stoicism. But for Marcus, this was not some abstract academic theory. It was a practical psychological toolkit, a straight-up survival manual for the mind. At the absolute heart of his Stoicism is a simple but world-changing idea: the difference between what you can control and what you can't. Look, Marcus couldn't control the wars, he couldn't stop the plague, he couldn't prevent the betrayal. But he knew deep down that he could control his thoughts, his judgments, and his reactions to those things. And according to the Stoics, that is where all of our true power really is. The Stoics had a name for this internal command center, the hegemonikon, your inner guide. You can think of it like your reasoning mind, the CEO of your soul. And Marcus believed his number one job every single day was to protect this inner citadel from being overrun by fear or anger or just bad information from the outside world. So how do you actually protect it? Well, Marcus breaks it down into 3 core practices. First, you have to accept reality. Just embrace the things you cannot change. Second, focus inward. Remember that the problem isn't the event itself, but your judgment about it. That's where your power is. And third, act with virtue. Get up and do your job. Serve the common good with justice and kindness. And this shows that Stoicism isn't about being passive or emotionless. Not at all. It's about directing your energy toward what actually matters. Marcus writes, "We are born for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids." His point is beautiful. To act against another person is to act against your own nature. We're all in this together. So this was all written nearly 2,000 years ago. Why on earth is an emperor's private diary still a global bestseller? It's because the problems he faced and the questions he asked himself are completely timeless. They're fundamentally human. The ideas in the Meditations are everywhere today. That core principle that our thoughts, not outside events, create our feelings, well, that's the absolute foundation of modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's a guidebook for leaders, athletes, you name it. It's a powerful tool for building psychological resilience. You can honestly think of it as an ancient form of mindfulness, a way to watch your thoughts without being swept away by them. And this is why it's so powerful. This isn't just theory. This is a philosophy that was stress-tested under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Marcus wasn't just thinking about these ideas. He was using them to survive a war, endure a plague, and forgive the man who tried to steal his throne. So, when all is said and done, what makes this book a true classic? Why do we keep coming back to it, century after century? I think it's because it answers one of the most fundamental human questions. How do we live a good life when the world around us is so chaotic and out of our control? The Meditations is maybe the most direct, honest, and practical answer ever written. It is a guide to mastering your inner world when the outer world seems determined to break you. And Marcus reminds us this isn't meant to be easy. He says, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. I love that. It means life requires training, it requires effort, and it requires the guts to get back up every time you get knocked down. It's an active, daily practice. So I'll leave you with this, a practical tool taken directly from Marcus. The next time you feel angry or anxious or completely overwhelmed by something, just stop for a second and ask yourself one simple question. Is this within my control? If the answer is no, then practice letting it go. If the answer is yes, then ask yourself, what is the right thing to do? That single question, if you practice it, is the very beginning of real wisdom.